So, I've realised that in my previous videos I didn't give you guys much of an idea of who I am and what I'm about. So I feel like that is necessary for you to get where I'm coming from on a lot of future events, so let's do it. So I feel like we need to start at the beginning. Day 1, my birth. I was born in the snow in December 1996. I always thought that meant something, but it just turns out it was just cold on that particular evening in Wembley. But I would have to get used to the cold, as the sport that caught my attention and sparked my imagination was the wonderful sport rugby union. And I think what inspired this is that my dad had all these old videotapes of things like the Barbarians game against the All Blacks, where they won and scored that great try where Phil Bennett sent a few All Blacks for a lovely day out at Westfield and then Gareth Edwards finished it off. As well as that Lions tour in 1996 where we managed to win with Scott Gibbs telling Oz Durant to get stronger, Matt Dawson told some Springboks to get smarter, and the Springboks told the Lions to get better, and Jeremy Guscott dropped a goal that immediately made him my boyhood waifu. And of course that Living with the Lions documentary that my mum tried to stop me watching because she saw me watching Keith Wood talk about how much he loved pregnant women and how they were sexy. Oh, the 90s. And then my absolute favourite video that probably was watched more than any other, Bill McLaren's best rugby moments. Oh, so good. It was a showcase of all the best tries and moments in international rugby that Bill McLaren commentated with his signature style with metaphors, alliteration and charm galore. It blew my little child mind seeing the best players from different generations doing their thing. You had people like Barry John stepping people out their boots, David Campese being ahead of his time, the awesome World Cup game where his Australia pitted against France and Serge Blanco scores that winning try at the last minute just squeezing into the corner. Speaking of Blanco, what a player. And speaking of French players, what a backline they had. And then the Sevens rugby bit where there was just some Fijians doing some mental stuff with Sarevi and others doing only what they can. This videotape had it all. And all of these videos were integral in me falling in love with the sport. So after all that, little old me asked my dad if I could follow him to one of his rugby games for the mighty Warsaw FC. Now this would end up becoming my club as well, but as a young man this was the last thing on my mind. I just wanted to grab the ball and try and step like Barry John. But as a young little old Noah toddler thing, I was exposed to many weird and wonderful things, especially whenever I'd go into the changing room. I had so many questions like, where's that smell? What are those? Why do they all shower together? And why are they drinking from those cans that smell like wet bread? But these questions would have to wait a while. Only as a grown man I would know the true meaning of this. I now know that the smell was deep heat because everyone who still plays rugby over the age of 24 is in a lot of pain and held together by tape. Those were grown man balls. They all shower together because why not? Stop judging. And then they drink that juice that smells like wet bread because life is hard. But still my naivete was still in check as all I saw was the coolest game in the world. And it would end up consuming my life in every way. Now I'm going to leave it there, we'll get back to that, but now let's get back to the rugby. So, I feel like the best way to go about the rest of this video is for me to pour my heart out to you guys in the form of poem. Pre-season had finally come to a close. It was time for the real stuff, still with aching bones. For Westcombe Park, the team I wanted to face, Cow Lane at 3 o'clock would be the time and place. For though I thought my physical form had changed, for now I am a tad more lean, but instead I would be playing at 2:30 at Cow Lane. For the second team. Now I find my mood dejected, struggling to find a way to express this rage after being rejected. That is a terrible rhyme. And if I am honest, I find myself cursing the coaches, proclaiming they are wrong. But in truth, I needed this setback, for showing resilience in time of rejection is what makes us strong. I pulled up my socks, I put on my boots, I tied my laces in knots. I will get my shot. I was going to try and tear up this game, so much so that it would bring me attention as well as fortune and fame, for this performance would be the opposite of tame. The game began at breakneck pace with forwards gathering to try and assault my face. Lucky for me, the efforts were fruitless, for trying to break gold with your bare hands is often pointless. But to be fair to them, they must have been bored, but lucky for them, a try was scored. We score another try that clearly tires me out, but not too tired to throw this feet work about. But then it was time for me to score. All eyes were on me, but in the typical fashion, the camera was not on me. But camera work aside, the team was prospering. Throwing wraparound passes, we were truly flourishing. We score another try after going wide in the corner, it's 26-0. And I feel a growing bug. Big boy carry, and then I am smashed. But I throw an offload full of panache. Then a brainwave consumes me. My comrade Elliot pointed something out that intrigued me. He called for a kick to be put in behind. I duly obliged, kicking to the space that I needed to find. Our view was extracted, but he ran it down, scored, and it was sublime, and that was all she wrote. 33-0 at halftime. Halftime is over. We kick off, but the vibe of the half is strange. More errors creep into our game, this fills me with rage. And our opponents were a lot better at keeping possession, so the game kept going on like this and it filled me with tension. And the game limped on with not much happening, then I began to limp due to my teammates tumbling. The pain, it hurt so bad, but soon it would be over as our victory was at hand. A try we scored from our line out. The victory and the spoils would be going to us no doubt. We score another try in typical fashion as the camera work was not keeping up with the action. Then another is scored and I get an assist. The game is now over, and now there is no longer a reason for this poem to exist. So if any of my first poem was lost in translation, I was pretty upset and disappointed I wasn't playing in the first team that day. And I thought that I was informed, considering I'd scored a load of tries, and I thought that I was always in position to score tries, and I was starting to believe in my abilities again, but that's just the way it is. Now, after that second team game, I was thinking surely there's going to be some movement in the squads. There's loads of guys fit, and people like George, R8 and Elliot, R11 had really good games. But again, I was wrong. What I failed to consider is that our first team played really well that weekend, as well as winning 32-6 in a hard-fought win, and considering we have just come up, it's a pretty big deal that we won our first match, which it would obviously make you want to stick with that team as much as possible. And I don't think I considered that maybe I wasn't the first name they were thinking about in terms of bringing people in, so when the squad came out for next week, the people I thought played well went up, but I did not. Was a reality check. And at this point I had moved from the mighty Wembley to train for rugby, so being here and not being a first team player fueled me even more to get fitter and train harder so I can be in the first team. And I'm just going to talk over the next game because not that much happened. We were playing against old Albanians 2s, we were outplayed and I was trying my best, and I did some good things, but I feel like I didn't actually do anything that impacted the game apart from have a little scuffle with their 10 who basically outplayed us all game. And I feel like that had me a bit dejected after the game, but to my amazement, it would be this game that I would get my call up to the first team. I know, right, it feels a bit underwhelming, and that was the same feeling I had. I was like, oh, okay, that game? Really? Oh, okay. Maybe they thought I played well in a poor performance, who knows? I didn't care, I'm in the team, so great. And I didn't think I was in with a shot, considering the first team had thrashed another team last week when I wasn't playing. So I'm on the bench for this game, it's against Sutton and Epsom, and the first half is happening, I'm just sitting there biding my time. And then the second half starts and I'm like, okay, I'll have like 20-25 minutes, that'll be okay. But as the first few minutes of the second half happening and the game's getting tense and it's really tight, and they're within one score for the entire game, I'm just thinking, I might not even get on the pitch here. And on away days, that is one of the worst feelings if you're ever on the bench, like travelling all the way there and then not actually playing. But eventually my time comes and I come on at outside centre and I have about 20 minutes to make my mark, and what do I do first thing? I drop a restart. But to be fair to me, this went backwards and I was mad upset when the ref said it didn't. But after that I was just thinking, just don't mess up again. And I didn't. But not really out of choice. We were defending for the whole time and I was on the pitch. And their 13 was making a lot of yards when I was off, so in my head I was sort of like, okay, just stop him. If I'm going to do anything, just stop him. Because if I stop him at every opportunity, then maybe that will shift the scales in my favour. Come selection next week, I made a difference. I stopped one of their big players. And to be fair to me, I did that. He didn't really have much room whenever he got the ball, but I feel like I handled him well and dealt with some other stuff as well. And we managed to survive defending in the last minute where it felt like a year and come up with a victory, so that was good. And yeah, we won the game 22-27. I felt like I came on and I made a difference and we won the game, so I'm thinking my chances are pretty good for next week. And then next week's come around, we're playing against Tunbridge Wells, but I'm not. I'm playing against Colchester 2s. Yeah, so I'm back in the 2s this week, which was a bit of a weird one because I understand that the bench spots sort of are more rotated than the starting 15, and when you get in the starting 15, that's where when you're properly in, but it's still a bit disappointing. But we played against Colchester 2s, we won, I had a pretty good game and I scored. We didn't have any video for it, but I felt like I was doing okay, like I felt really fit during that game, and yeah, it was just a good game. Just wish I was in the first team, but they won again in a tight game versus Tunbridge Wells. So next week rolls around and we're gearing up for our biggest rivals. It's basically our Arsenal versus Tottenham. It's the derby, it's Tring versus Hertford. So I'm thinking we've just won a tight game where I was playing against Sutton and Epsom, and then we've won another tight game against Tunbridge Wells where we didn't attack that well, and I haven't really had a chance to. So I'm thinking maybe I'm in with a shot here, like for a bench spot. And I've been told I'm sort of like next in line sort of thing. So I'm thinking, oh okay. And not attacking well last week, I was thinking maybe they'll want to change up, have a bit of me as an impact off the bench. But again, I was wrong. And selection rolls round and I am in the same position as the first game of the season where the first team are playing at a different time to me in the same ground, and it was just a bit dejecting because I thought I had made more progress in this, and sort of in the back of my mind I was targeting this game as a game that I wanted to get into the team for, because I had played in this game before and like done well, and like it's one of the best games as a Tring player you can be part of, and it's just a bit dejected. And I felt like with the Sutton and Epsom game I had taken one step forward and two steps backward. And also it felt similar to other situations I've been in with my rugby career, where I've put myself in a position where I can't get myself back into a team because of either fitness or other circumstances. And this year, this game is an even bigger deal because we haven't been able to play them for 2 seasons because we've been relegated, and it was just a bit upsetting to not be a part of, not through saying I should have been part of it, just saying that I felt like I wanted to be there and I wasn't. But things were about to change. So, 3 weeks. Not bad. My most consistent upload schedule, I think. Maybe. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like, please leave a like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and see you later.